Bus rides in the back, arriving at the locker room to unpack. Pre-game walks around the track. You can't forget the sounds of the cleats clack. All the fans packing in the stands, and the coaches starting to shake hands. Ain't nothing better than the countdown for some football in the small town.
Man, how awesome is that song? And that is the single called Throwback by our guest today, Clark Hazlett, which you're going to hear the chorus coming up. It's pretty awesome. He's also this YouTube sensation. He's got like over 100,000 subscribers and has taken people through his journey of being a college athlete, and has built a brand around himself, and who he is. And it's really cool to see that, and it's been able to, that following and audience has allowed him to kind of venture off into a few different areas. But it all started as being a student athlete. So great conversation with Clark. We talk about the student athlete and owning their likeness and the NCAA, and really Clark's story of how it started on YouTube and videos, and kind of where he's going now. It's about 30 minutes or so. There's great information. Clark's wise beyond his years, and really, really stoked that he was able to sit down and chat for a few minutes with us. And guys, I'm pumped about the song, man. It's awesome. Guys just getting out there and doing it, not caring what anybody else thinks, really. So here comes the chorus. It's pretty badass. Check it out, and then follow along with the episode. Follow all of our social channels, of course, at QBIQ System. Big things coming up this December, a lot of different bundles and deals, and camp coming up in the beginning of January, and then we get into our camp series. So, guys, here's episode with Clark Hazlett, but first.
If only I could go back to the days as a quarterback, always on the comeback, dropping back like Brady on the counterattack. Gotta make a play, take a chance downfield to win the day. First down, the touchdowns on Friday nights, come on, that's how we roll.
And specifically for us at QBIQ, where we're in a good situation is that, yes, there is training for sure, but we're not competing with any of these other trainers or these private quarterback coaches because of the QBIQ system. It works with everyone. It works with any offense, any coach, any player. I think we're kind of talking about what the reception was from teammates and coaches, and you kind of bringing a camera into behind the scenes and a day in the life and daily game day vlogs, and what some of the reactions from coaches and players have been.
Yeah, so to kind of give a little bit more background, I'm a marketing and sports studies double major with a minor in digital art. So when it comes to school, I really enjoy what I'm studying, and everything that I'm doing in terms of like this documentation of the journey, as well as like the production aspect of it, is all pertains to my major. So that's kind of where, talking with my coach, I'm kind of able to get away with some things that I know traditionally other players might not be able to get the chance to do. As well as it goes hand in hand, I'm the backup quarterback. So serving as the backup quarterback, it's interesting because in practice, I have a lot more responsibility than traditionally sometimes the starter, because we're usually trying to rest them. And I'm still getting the opportunity to kind of like document what goes on game day and what goes on kind of just like in everyday life as an athlete. And over time, it's kind of become one of those things where pregame for me now, it's like my ritual. So I'm not worried about, any game day nerves, because I'm also simultaneously kind of focusing on shooting a video. Mm-hmm. But over time, after my coaches kind of first saw the couple of videos that kind of came out, they were okay with it. I was shining light on our program and, not diluting our brand. And then once I started to gain traction, I had to sit down and talk with my coach, and he asked me to kind of start to leave Linfield out of kind of the videos that I've been working on recently. So that kind of changed this past year. But in terms of my teammates, early on, a lot of my good teammates were all for it. They loved getting a chance to be in front of the camera, and that's the coolest part was getting a chance to document the behind the scenes stuff that not a lot of people get a chance to see, and getting a chance to look back on those memories now. That's one of my most favorite things about getting a chance to document this whole journey. And then this past year, I've got a lot of my buddies who graduated, so the vibe's a little different, but my teammates kind of see the vision of kind of where I'm going with things. And early on there was kind of like, what the heck is Clark doing? But now kind of people are buying in and understanding what kind of my goal is and the bigger picture.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the bigger picture? What's the vision?
Yeah, so essentially when I look at it, because I'm a backup quarterback, the importance of building a personal brand at all levels for student athletes. We have that level of influence from our freshman year of college to our senior year, unless you go pro and you're in that 1%. So I started to look at it as I wanted to leverage that influence that I have and being able to be that role model for younger athletes that are learning about this whole process of what it's like to go through recruiting, be a part of a program, and what it's like. And that all pertains simply because when I was going through the recruiting process myself, technology wasn't as developed as it is now. Huddle was just put out, and I didn't really understand everything that really kind of goes into the whole recruiting process and what it's like playing at the Division 3 level or at the Division 1 level, 2, 3 JUCO NAI. So because of that, I've been able to collaborate, with Division 1 athletes, 2, 3 NAI, and I'll be soon having a junior college quarterback collaborate with me in a video and compare what the difference is between D3 and D1. And like I said, all those different divisions. And my whole goal there is, like I said, to shine light and to kind of help educate the up and coming athletes on what the differences are. And really, it's interesting to see that the main differences are the speed on the field and the money in the stadiums and the locker rooms and the equipment. But when it comes down to
Right.
the game day routines, we all pretty much have the same thing, where we're in the hotel and we get some downtime to hang out with our brothers, and then when it's game time, it's game time.
Yeah, no doubt. So I like how you talk about you basically have those 3 years or 4 years or 5 years with your likeness as a college athlete, and obviously that brings the hot button issue of NCAA and all the rules and regulations that they have with student athletes and pay and using your likeness. I know there's been some rules changes or at least some bills introduced around the country. Where's and I know you did a video on that. What's your stance on that? Where do you think that fits into what you're doing and for future athletes?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting how when you look at a college program, you have the overall brand of the team, but it's not really talked about how athletes are brands too. And I'm kind of the example of that. How I'm a backup quarterback for a Division 3 school, and I've still been able to grow a following and share my own story. And as things are starting to progress with the NCAA and California is making the move to try to allow them to be able to make money off their name, image, and likeness, I think it's finally about time that this is going to happen. And YouTube is definitely a great platform for athletes to not only get a chance to learn about all the business operation aspects, because it's not about just posting videos anymore. There's a full on operation, as well as building their own personal brand. So giving athletes the opportunity to make money off their name, image, and likeness, one is going to help them be able to grow more as business women and men, as well as going to help them increase their public speaking abilities and overall have an outlet to be able to share their story, because every athlete has a story to tell. And for those that I think are interested in being able to make money off their name, image, and likeness, I could see them utilizing YouTube, as it also is a controlled platform. But that also comes back to the
Right.
question, should you pay athletes just in general, which I
Well,
disagree on,
that's
because
yeah, yeah. Well,
you
that
can.
was the next thing I was going to ask you is paying athletes and allowing them the opportunity to make money on their likeness. totally separate things, or are they one and the same? And you kind of just answered that, which I agree with. They are totally different. And I agree that every athlete should be able to do what you're doing and create their own platform and their own brand and profit off that if that's the case, where you're a great example saying a backup quarterback at a D3 college probably wouldn't get any type of stardom or endorsement, if you will, otherwise.
Correct. And it's almost like it levels the playing field where any athlete, has the opportunity to make money off their name, image, and likeness. And I'm exactly the example of that. And also, if it does come down to where, they decide to pay athletes, it's just going to be such a gray area because of women's sports and men's sports and which sports are revenue generating, that it's just going to cause, an even more discrepancy for the NCAA to have to deal with.
Yeah, man. And it essentially will turn into the Wild West, kind of like what
Right.
recruiting and the transfer portal has become. So I totally agree that they're totally different in profiting off your likeness and paying athletes straight up are two totally different topics. And it's cool to hear your perspective, being in it, being alive and in it right now and actually doing it.
Absolutely.
See, that's really interesting. So you got to tell me, when you started this YouTube thing, was 100,000 subscribers ever in your mind?
Not at all from the start. When it comes back to like when I started YouTube, or excuse me, when I started making videos, kind of goes back to 8th grade when I started making my highlights to send out to coaches. And then I slowly progressed from freshman to senior year of high school, just enjoying making videos and telling stories. And then once I jumped on the YouTube train and kind of started to then document kind of my own journey, I didn't really fully grasp and understand how YouTube worked and how, how subscribers worked, and how that you can eventually at some point make money off of the videos that you post with advertisements. And then once
Right.
I started to gain traction, and I realized early on that for me specifically with my situation where I'm not playing, but I'm still getting a chance to share my story, my channel started to grow. The 100,000 subscriber mark is definitely an accomplishment that I was, shooting for once I hit like 50,000 subscribers. But when it all comes down to it, what's crazy, it's just a number. And on YouTube, if you truly want to be successful, it's all about watch time and engagement with your audience. And the number is all that really gives your audience proof that you're credible as a creator. So early on, my goal was to try to hit 50,000 subscribers, only because when, football players or anyone that comes to my YouTube channel, they look at my channel, they would see I'm credible. And I think that's the toughest thing for anyone that's starting a channel right now. I mean, and I know I see a lot of athletes, like literally 30 athletes just popped up on YouTube, and they're all trying to do the same student athlete day in the life thing. So the market's kind of starting to become saturated. And the biggest problem is that all these athletes don't have any credibility with that subscriber number. So as that number for me started to grow, I definitely, I got excited getting a chance to hit the 100,000 mark. And, once I hit the 100,000 mark, it was interesting how I had to kind of start to change my mindset a little bit and kind of start looking at the bigger picture and really start setting goals moving forward, and realizing also it's just a number, and that what's most important is the quality of content that I'm putting out on a consistent basis. But definitely it was
Yeah.
an accomplishment that I was happy to hit.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm sure I could probably scroll through your Instagram and just based on the content that you're putting out, that you're a follower of Gary V. I'm just making that assumption.
100%. 100%. I listened
And
to Gary Vee before he got big,
yeah,
and that's
and
what
it's
really
so
helped give
crazy.
me the leg up.
Right. And it's so crazy, like, because there's not an answer. Your goal was to get to 50K and you're at 105 now, and there's not a blueprint. There's not an answer. And that's really what he says, and kind of what you've been doing is it's just quality, repeat, and hope that it works. I mean,
Yeah, and I
that's
think I
what
think
it seems
patience
like.
has a lot to do with it as well, and just understanding that this is a long game. Now that I've built the brand, it's interesting how my audience connects with me. Not even so much as a football player, but just more for me as a person. And once I hit that 100,000 subscriber mark, I got a chance to see a lot of the comments, and I asked my subscribers like, "Hey, what was your favorite memory about my channel, or what's something that I've inspired you with?" And a lot of it was about football, but there's also some aspects that were mentioned just about being able to have someone to look up to. And I think the biggest thing we need in
Mm,
this world right now is more role models. And I mentioned this a little bit, like I mentioned this early on. I struggled having role models that I could look up to because of lack of social media when I was going through high school. Like I know Jake Locker was a quarterback about 30 minutes from where I live. So I looked up to him, but I never had like the access that these kids do now these days. So
right.
I definitely think it could be also a plus for the NCAA if they're able to find a way that athletes can make money off the name, image, and likeness. These athletes are going to be able to help inspire the next level, the next generation of athletes, and that's what I see lacking right now, and that kind of goes back to my whole mission and goal is to help kind of pioneer and encourage other athletes and teach them the ways of YouTube because, like I said, it's not just posting videos now; it's a full on business operation. And I'm not sure if you've had a chance to see my videos on my channel yet, where I'm collaborating with as many student athletes as possible, trying to leverage my
Oh yeah.
time that I have left and trying to pass on the knowledge on how to create content and, you know, bring other athletes up. Because it's cool how we have this small student athlete YouTuber community of about 20 athletes that are really in it. Now it's like grown to about 50, but it's, like I said, it's becoming that diluted day in the life, day in the life, day in the life, and everyone wakes up at 7 a.m. and eats breakfast. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you talked about it becoming saturated, and every day in the life story is fairly similar with a little different texture to it. So where do you get fresh ideas? Where do you get creative in keeping your channel authentic to you, but also kind of ahead of the game?
yeah, I think it kind of goes back to my background of what I was studying in school. As a digital art minor, basically, I learned the whole process of what it takes to develop a design brief and kind of the creative flow of what it takes to come up with different ideas. Any advice for any athletes that are going to be enrolling in college in the next year or two, it would be to take some classes such as photography, videography, or digital art just to get a chance to experience what it's like to kind of learn the creative flow and understand the whole process. I didn't used to be someone that was creative. I could kind of come up with different ideas, but because of those classes that I took in college, just challenged me to look at the world differently. And now, because of that, I'm able to translate that and develop different content, kind of having a more of a content based athlete versus there's so many athletes that can really leverage D1 athlete this, D1 athlete that. I can say I came up on not using any of that, extra leverage in the amazing stadiums and locker rooms, all kind of predicated on the creativity that I kind of put into my videos. And for anyone that wants to see that creativity, they just got to check out my channel and basically do what I do in their own version. And then, they'd
Yeah,
have some
and your
content to be able to
channel is
shoot.
your YouTube channel is Adventure Athlete, right?
Hmm.
Adventure
And that's
Athlete on
definitely one
YouTube,
thing.
and
That's definitely one thing that
go
I've
ahead.
been, really diving into is how can I continue to bring content that's different and that can't be replicated? If that makes sense. And
Yeah,
that all goes back to Gary Vee, kind of just educating me on you shouldn't be worried about your competition. You should be trying to find different ways to, make yourself not be able to be copied.
yeah, yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation about all the knowledge bombs that Gary Vee drops.
Right?
There's a ton of great stuff that he's got. So you talk about how I think you said you got to 100,000 subscribers, and then you jumped back into your audience and you asked them what was their favorite memory or favorite video or favorite collaboration. Do you have a favorite piece that you've done?
Yes. And it also just happens to be the most popular video on my channel. and the video is called "What's a College Football Player Away Game Routine?" And essentially, my team was playing Carroll College, and we live in Oregon, so it's about a 18-hour bus ride to Montana from Oregon.
Mm.
And throughout that journey, I actually vlogged way more than I traditionally do. But throughout that process, Linfield College is known for a very blue collar program, and we like to do a lot of things different too as well. So we're going to Montana, and there's this gorgeous, like, little lagoon creek on the side of the freeway. And I really hope my coach doesn't get mad I'm sharing this, but I think he's fine. He's fine. We pulled over the buses on the side of the freeway, kind of literally in the middle of nowhere. And like I said, there's this beautiful lagoon that had this little waterfall and little creek lake area, and the whole team got a chance to jump into the lake. Excuse me. The whole team got a chance to jump into this small creek, we'll call it. And throughout that whole trip, I got the chance to really just document all the behind the scenes and the bonding moments and the things that aren't highlighted in college football. And that really resonated with my audience, getting a chance to just not only authentically connect with me, but also with my teammates. And we unfortunately took a tough loss that game. But on the way back, our bus broke down. And it turned out to be this trip that took about 26 hours to get back from Montana to Oregon. But throughout that process of all the trials and tribulations, I was able to highlight how my teammates were coming together. And it's the moments when adversity hits, how you act. I was able to illustrate that off the field, and we literally had a bus catch on fire, and it was on film. And we had half the team have to stay at one area while the other half was getting a chance to go get some food. And we ended up being in a parking lot for about 4 hours all together, just kind of huddled up waiting for this bus to come from Spokane. So all in all, that whole video in and of itself really got a chance to illustrate all the ups and downs that college football really teaches us as athletes and what ultimately prepares us for life. So that definitely has to be my most favorite video, and my audience's most favorite video as well.
That's awesome. And it sounds like that because it's real and you got to capture the real stuff, the good and the bad that happened, and people love real. People can relate to real, and it's something that they wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Absolutely. And I think that kind of goes back to how I've been able to successfully build my brand, is people can relate to a backup quarterback and to the hustle and to the extra work and grind that kind of goes in place. And I've not really ever had that much. Back in high school, I got the media attention, but everyone in high school did. So I've been kind of under the radar for a while, and now the audience, my audience has been with me for the past 2 years. They've been able to kind of grow up with me and see me grow. That's something that they've really enjoyed getting a chance to see, and people relate to the underdog, and I definitely have that kind of underdog vibe. And never should have had a channel or had success on a channel being a backup quarterback.
So you mentioned like being a creative earlier, and this is something that I can relate to, but I want to ask you, prior to you like creating videos and starting YouTube, would you have considered yourself a creative?
Absolutely. I actually had 2 YouTube channels before this one with a couple of buddies, and both was trial and error. The next one was trial and error, and it wasn't until I went off and kind of started my own channel myself that I started to reach success. And I didn't start out posting football videos. I kind of started posting more adventure videos, which is kind of where the name Adventure Athlete comes from. In college, one of my favorite things to do was to go out into the outdoors and kind of be that adventure and athlete. That's where the name kind of originated. And once I kind of realized that there was this niche and this opportunity to kind of create content that hadn't been created before for athletes out there interested in college football, and now also just what it's like being a student athlete, that's kind of when I switched my content focus to more, football and sports related. But before that, I was, I take pictures. I don't consider myself too much of a photographer, but I have a camera and I know how to shoot thanks to the classes that I took at Linfield College. And then I really fell in love with video because of the capabilities of being able to tell a story more than just 1,000 words in a photo. You can
Yeah.
really get a chance to connect with people. Hence the YouTube channel, which has really been able to allow me to connect with people that I've never even met all across the world.
Like, you kind of realized that you were a creative prior to all this followers and kind of success through YouTube and all that. Where,
And that's
go ahead.
That's one thing that I really want to challenge other up and coming athletes, is to have other passions outside of just their sport itself. Because
Yes.
I know there's plenty of players, not only on my team, but on other teams all across the nation, that guys really just invest solely in football. And when the playing time comes to an end, they're kind of left with, shoot, what's next? And by getting a
Yeah.
chance to develop my passion for photography, videography, all these other, opportunities presented itself. And it really just ultimately challenged me to look at things differently in this world. So,
Man,
all in
that is
all, if student
100%.
athletes if they can get a chance to experience and develop other passions throughout college while also getting a chance to play their sport, they're going to be bound for success.
Game day bus rides in the back, arriving at the locker room to unpack. Pre-game walks around the track, you can't forget the sounds of the cleats clack. All the fans packing in the stands, and the coaches starting to shake hands. Ain't nothing better than the countdown for some football in a small town. If only I could throw back to the days as a quarterback, always on the comeback, dropping back like Brady on the counterattack. Gotta make a play, take a chance downfield to win the day. First down to touchdowns on Friday nights, come on, that's how we roll. While I just sit back and wish I was that quarterback. Sometimes life makes you backtrack, but every setback has a comeback. 3rd and 10, here comes the pressure. 5-step drop from under center. Roll back left, nobody open. Gotta cut back before he gets sacked. If only I could throw back to the days as a quarterback, always on the comeback, dropping back like Brady on the counterattack. Gotta make a play, take a chance downfield to win the day. First down to touchdowns on Friday nights, come on, that's how we roll. If only I could throw back to the days as a quarterback, backed by the band of brothers, we are ready to fight. Ain't no stopping us now, never give up, never back down, never back down. Playing under the lights, playing on a Friday night. If only I could go back to the days as a quarterback, always on the comeback, dropping back like Brady on the counterattack. Gotta make a play, take a chance downfield to win the day. First down to touchdowns on Friday nights, come on, that's how we roll. That's how we roll. If only I could throw back to the days as a quarterback. If only I could throw back to the days as a quarterback.